views expressed on the following program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership.
Phoenix, Arizona, this is Brother Mike. Yes, I'm back on the radio. Of course I am. 17 years of it. Hey, thank you for your time, and thank you for listening to another interesting and unusual program. 17 years of strange programs. This is as strange as some of them I've done before. ChimpsRUs, today's Bible study. No, it's not Toys R Us. They filed bankruptcy. Fun is no longer part of America. School shootings are. Toys R Us went under, but ChimpsRUs, oh, they're here to stay. Yep. Would you call somebody and tell them radio programs on? You're not going to believe this story. Hey, this is Brother Mike. I'm the professional counselor. The Arizona Deliverance Center in Central Phoenix. We're on 15th Avenue, just south of Osborne Road. The website, hardcorechristianity.com. All of our ministry services are there. We have 2 live services every week, 7 p.m. Thursdays, Friday. Preaching, teaching, healing, and deliverance at both services. I teach on our Friday night service for my radio listeners, 7 p.m. You can join us on our Facebook page, Hardcore Christianity, or read about all the glorious testimonies that happen every single week at the Deliverance Center. The Facebook page is called Blessings. You can sign up for another free seminar for April near the end of the month, and you can contact Sister Karen. She's on page 1 of the website about selling your home. She'd be happy to help you. She loves working with Christians, and may God richly bless you. ChimpsRUs. Oh, I know what you're thinking. What in the world is this story? Well, you ain't going to believe it. Check this article out. It highlights the idiocy of humans and the insanity of evolution. Check this out. Here's the story, a short version of the story of Jane Goodall, the chimpanzee expert. Quote, as a girl, Jane Goodall read The Adventures of Tarzan and the Apes and Dr. Dolittle as she hid in the highest branches of the trees in her garden and dreamt of following in their footsteps. She was so desperate to live with wild animals of Africa, she moved to Kenya, was rewarded with a chance to study chimpanzees in the remote mountains of Tanzania. Despite instructions to get as close as possible, Jane never stopped to consider the potential dangers. Her childhood dreams of friendly apes were quickly dispelled as she discovered the calculating, warlike nature of the apes that was disturbingly human. Jane, now 83, admits, quote, I didn't know chimpanzees can rip your face off. There was no one talking about that. There were no people out in the field whose research I could read about, except one man who painted himself with baboon feces and sat in hides hoping chimpanzees would appear. Sometimes I was frightened of things like leopards, but it was the life I dreamed of and nothing could deter me. I had a feeling nothing was going to hurt me because I was meant to be there. Okay. The article goes on. It says it is now 60 years since Jane began her remarkable research, the longest continuous study of any animal. It has revolutionized our understanding of chimps and human evolution. It's the subject of a National Geographic film that premieres tonight. Jane so loved life among the chimps that when she married National Geographic photographer Baron von Lawick, they had a son called Grub. The boy spent his formative years in a cage, staring out from behind the bars at the wild creatures of Gombe Stream National Park in northwest Tanzania. Folks, you can't make this stuff up. You just can't do it. It's got to be something real. Jane says it was dangerous for him to be at Gombe. Oh, you think? Chimpanzees eat other primates. No, really? They have been known to take infant humans. Oh, what a surprise that is. I wasn't going to risk my little precious son. Well, that was mighty nice of you. Thanks, Mom. So Grub sat in a cage, but it was painted blue and had mobiles hanging down. It was very lovely. Yeah, I can't wait to meet Grub, see how he's doing today. Can you? If I can, I'm going to try and contact him, get him to come in for an interview. Jane says, quote, in the morning I would do an analysis of data and then spend an hour or two with the students looking at chimps. Then every afternoon was totally his. My life at that time was perfect, she says. It challenged the belief at the time that humans were the only creatures to use handmade tools. Some experts tried to dismiss Jane's discovery as she was a young, untrained girl, but Dr. Leakey saw the significance. Oh, this is going to be good. In a hasty telegram, Dr. Leakey wrote, quote, we must now redefine man or accept chimpanzees as human, unquote. Okay. Quick aside here, only people with doctor's degrees are stupid enough to believe that evolution is science. It is not science, it's a farce. There is no such thing as evolution. There's not one example of it in the history of known humanity. We don't have one example of something that evolved into something else. The whole theory is a joke. It's not real, but it is only real to people who have PhDs. You have to profess yourself to be wise in order to become a fool. And Dr. Leakey, of course, and Sister Jane here fall in that category. Back to the article, quote, in a hasty telegram he wrote, we must now redefine man or accept chimpanzees as human. This is a guy with a PhD saying this. Her findings did not stop there. She says at the time it was held by many scientists that only humans had minds and were capable of rational thought. Thankfully, I had not been to university and did not know these things. Oh boy, she hit it there, folks. Don't you see that? She actually stumbled on it and didn't even know it. The more education you get, the dumber you become. It's like Bible scholars. They can't pray their way out of a paper bag. They have no childlike faith. A Bible scholar is the last person you would ever go to get a miracle from God when you were in trouble and desperate to be healed or delivered. You wouldn't go to anybody that has doctor's degrees. That's absurd. You wouldn't go to a Bible scholar. They're useless. People who think too much and are too intelligent and have too many degrees are literally virtually worthless to the Holy Ghost. You can't use them. She said, quote, thankfully, I had not been to a university and did not know these things. Don't you see it, friends? People who think too much and get too much education get caught up in themselves and they rationally look at spiritual things, which ruins it. Quote, staring into the eyes of a chimpanzee, I saw a thinking, reasoning personality looking back at me. I felt very much that I was learning about fellow beings capable of joy, sorrow, and jealousy. Jane's growing team of researchers saw it at first hand when the chimps, led by David Graybeard, began invading their camp to steal bananas. Fights broke out among the chimps as they scrambled for the food until Jane was forced to devise a series of mechanical feeders to allow one chimp at a time to help themselves. When Flo, the dominant female of the group, died of old age, her youngest son, Flint, took to his nest and refused to eat. He grew weaker and died several weeks later, apparently of a broken heart. Soon many of the chimps began spending more time away from the main group, and their former family began to regard them as a rival clan. It escalated into war that lasted 4 years, only ending when the new group had completely annihilated the other group. Jane says, quote, it was a very dark time for me. I thought they were like us, but nicer. Can you imagine any of this, folks? Does this get any stupider to you? This is incredibly idiotic. There are many animals who have relatively high functioning intelligence patterns. Chimps and apes are very high. Porpoises are very high. Killer whales are even higher. Dogs, some dogs are flat out brilliant. There's all kinds of animals that have higher IQs. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't prove humans used to be killer whales or porpoises or dogs or chimps. It's completely stupid. Chimps are extremely intelligent when compared to other animals, not humans. Okay, they can't take a class and learn math. They might be able to learn 1, 2, 3, 4 like other animals learn, but they don't reason like human beings. Duh. This is some deep revelations from Brother Mike. They're animals, fool. Jane, honey, snap out of it. You know why they were acting vicious and were stealing bananas and raiding the camp? Do you want to know the reason? Because they're wild animals, Einstein. They're wild animals. God built them that way. Can you believe any of this? You can only believe this crap if you've got a PhD. Nobody else would believe it. Nobody would believe it. She was saying that because chimpanzees are very similar in some of their thinking patterns and behaviors, that we evolved from chimps. We evolved from chimps. We evolved from gorillas. We evolved from monkeys. Yeah, and here's the conclusion of the article. I'm tired of reading it. It says that we inherited our violent nature from chimps. The buzzer went off there. Another stupid statement was made. We inherited it from chimps. Can you believe any? That's unbelievable. Don't you see it, friend? God made man in his own image. In the image of God created he them. God created human beings to look like him for obvious reasons. Who wants children that don't look like you? When you got married and you had your first child, were you hoping it came out looking like a butterfly? How about a goat? How about a mole? No, you wanted a child that looked like you. We used to call it, quote, a chip off the old block. God did the same things. He said it in Genesis. In addition, God created all the animals and the natural world. He created everything to reproduce after their kind. Chimps have never reproduced a human being. They never will because they're chimps, Einstein. They're animals. Some people used to call them dumb animals. Okay, all animals compared to human beings are dumb. Why is that? Because that's the way God created them. God created man to have dominion over the earth. Man is the most intelligent mammal God created. The other ones are not. How in the world can people get sucked into this kind of total insanity? It's the devil. See you next time.
The views expressed on this program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership. This program was sponsored by Michael W. Smith.